Today's project is this Dixie louvered triple dresser. Found it locally. I picked it up for $75. I didn't even know what brand it was. And when I got it home and saw that it was a Dixie, I was super excited. You can see that there's lots of little veneer damage areas. The top is pretty trashed, but the bones are there. And I decided I was going to try to do a full refinish. So I started out with a really good clean. Sometimes I like to use TSP. Today I'm using Awesome, which is a great little degreaser. You just dilute it in water. I like to use microfiber rags, and I give it a really good clean. I clean just the inside, the outside, the whole thing. Now, when I'm done with a rag or done with a certain area, don't put that rag back. I actually go and I just toss it to the side and I get a brand new rag because I don't want to cross-contaminate. So anything that was on that rag, I want to toss it and then I just pick up a new rag. So that's why, I mean, they're pretty cheap. You know, you can buy a whole big packet of them for maybe $17 and then you can wash them after you're done. So they're a great little investment. After the clean, then I'm going to go in with QCS stripper and I'm going to strip the entire piece. Now, to use QCS, it's a non-toxic stripper. You spray it on and then you wait 15 minutes and then you come back and you spray it a second time, wait another 15 minutes, and then you test to see if it's ready. Sometimes I also cover it with plastic wrap. I did not on this particular project, but it worked fine. So once it's ready, then you're just going to use some type of a scraper. And this is my 5-in-1 tool. You could use a putty knife, and then you just go in and you scrape off the finish. Then I'm going to use a medium grit of steel wool. This is 00 in combination with the QCS stripper. And you're just going to go over the entire piece and try to get any extra residue off. This is just going to help you later on during the sanding process. I'm going to use Kwikwood, which is an epoxy putty, to fill in the areas that have veneer damage. And then I'm going to come back later after I stain and I'm going to do some veneer patching, or they call it inpainting, and I'm going to paint those areas in to match the rest of it. But I'm going to at least put this wood putty down first. That way I have a base to work with. When you're doing a full refinish, sanding just is going to take a long time, but you want to really be patient. This is something I'm really working on, because if you bear down too much on your sander, you're going to get those little swirls. If you don't change out your sandpaper often enough, you're going to get those little swirls. And so you have to be really careful. I don't have like a really fancy sander, but you can do amazing things when you just take your time. And so you can see I'm going to spend a lot of time on this piece, sanding through the grits. And by that, I mean, you start at a certain grit. I usually start with, depending on how much of the finish comes off, I'll either start with an 80 or I'll start with a 120. And then you can't just jump all the way to 180. You have to go in order because you're creating these grooves and you're creating this scratch pattern. And so whatever the lowest grit you've used, let's say you start with 80, then you can only go up 1/2 of whatever you've used. So if I used an 80, well, half of 80 is 40, and 40 and 80 is 120. So I can only go to 120. I can't go to 150. I have to go to 120. So if I use an 80, then I'm going to go to 120. Then theoretically, I could go to 180 after that, but I usually go to 150. So sanding is an art. Get a book. Read about it, practice it. You have to just really be patient, and you have to go with the grain, and you just got to try to find all the little tools that can help you to really be successful in your sanding. What I read recently was your lowest grit is going to do your main finish removal. And then your subsequent grits after that, all you're doing is you are refining your scratch pattern. That's it. So go down to the lowest grit that you need to remove that finish. And then after that, it's just going to smooth everything out and refine all of those little scratches. Once all the sanding is done, I'm ready for refinishing. I'm going to start out with a clear coat of shellac. I like to use shellac as kind of a pre-wood conditioner. It just helps the stain go on less blotchy, and I think it makes the finish kind of silky or smooth. I'm just going to wipe it on, and then I wipe it right back off. It dries really quickly, so you have to move fast. Now I'm ready to stain. I am using General Finishes gel stain in nutmeg and brown mahogany. I'm going to use 1 part brown mahogany and 1 part nutmeg. Gel stain is really easy to apply. You just simply rub it in, usually against the grain, and then you're going to come back at the end with the grain, and you're just going to wipe it in nice long strokes with the grain. Now that the base of the staining is done, I'm going to show you how I did some in-painting veneer repair. This Dixie has a few areas on the body that I had to fill in with Bondo. And then I have stained it, and I'm going to come back with a veneer repair kit, and I'm going to paint in the areas. So the veneer repair is something that I'm new at, and so but it's a skill I'm practicing, and it's a skill that I think that every refinisher needs to have. So I'm practicing. So I'm going to have you come along with me as I'm working on this, and I'm going to show you my process. Okay, so here's the area that I'm going to be filling in. I filled it in with the Bondo, and I have a little bit of gel stain over it. So the gel stain sometimes stays on, but then you got to fill in the rest. So this is the kit I'm using. It is a floor and furniture repair kit. It comes with all these tubes, different colors, and then you basically mix them. So I'm going to start with original wood. That's what I'm going to start with. And then I'm just going to kind of pick up some, like this is yellow sandalwood. This is a paddock, probably teak. Here's some dark ones, black walnut. Probably this will be my second one. This is an amber yellow. So what you got to do is you just kind of mix them. So I'm going to start, I'm just going to put a few on my plate here, and I'm going to mix them in so that they will be able to mimic the wood. Okay, so let me find a little paintbrush here that I want to use, and I'm going to start with this color. So this is the original wood color. So I'm going to start with the lightest, and you basically are just painting in your repair. So I'm just going to go over it. Obviously, I know this is too light, but you got to start light, and it's all about building layers. A little bit on the outside I'm going to get to. It's helpful to also have a heat gun that you can kind of just shoot it in between your layers to dry it so it can go a little bit faster. So let me grab that. I'm going to go in with a mix of this one, and this is a yellow amber. And it's going to be my next color. Again, I know it doesn't match, but I'm creating some depth by layering the colors. I'm going to use my finger to kind of blend it in a little bit. I think I'm going to grab a little bit more dark. Oh yeah, that's good. Okay. So now you see these lines, the dark lines here. I've got to paint those in because they don't exist, obviously, because I've painted over them. So I'm going to take a little bit of line, and I have the black here. And I actually might mix it with some of the teak. And I'm going to just kind of color that in. And then I will take a paper towel and just kind of blend it. You don't want it to be too obvious, obviously. You want it to be a little bit more subtle without rubbing it all off, like I just did. Yeah, let me try that again. There we go. It's looking pretty good. Let me show you from this side. Pretty good. I might do a few more tweaks, but I'm liking that. Might go just a tad darker right in the middle there. Blend that. Each time I touch it though, it's going away, so I think I won't touch that. Switch. Problem is, you mess with it too much, and then it's just not good. So you gotta be careful not to overwork it, which is hard for me. Get a lint-free rag. Pretty happy with that. So I might go ahead and shoot that with a little bit of stain when it dries and see how it blends in. Here's a couple areas on the base that I had to fill in. I'm going to start with the lightest color first. I'm going to blend that out with my finger. Okay. Then I'm going to go to, I think this is amber yellow or amber gold, I forget. It looks orangey to me. Must be the amber part. Okay, now I'm going to shoot that with the heat gun. Now I'm going to go for the medium dark. It helps when you kind of feather it out to the areas around it, so it makes it look a little bit more natural. So those seem to be really good bases, and then this darker color seems to be where it really starts to blend better. It's looking better. I'm going to take just a tad of black, and I'm going to mix it with the two medium browns, and we'll just kind of drag that through. And then I'm going to put that dark back on top of that. How's that looking on camera? Because that's looking pretty good in person. Again, I'm just trying to blend it in. I'm going to kind of feather it out. I think once that dries, it will be pretty close. Sometimes you just have to know when to stop, which is really hard for me. Okay, I think I'm gonna stop. Got one more little area right here that I had to fill in. Let's start. The ambery color, and then I'll go straight to the darker. Kind of go through them a little bit quicker. This is tiny. I need some more of that medium. I'm really loving this. I think the sandalwood color. Man, I think that's probably for these mid-century moderns. The sandalwood, and I think this was the teak. Those really seem to be my winning combinations. So let me take a little bit. Where is it? Oh, I had to find it. Oh wow, that's really good. How's that looking on camera? Looks really good in person. Wow. Okay. That looks really good. One little pro tip I have is if you have any areas that you need to, just go back over with a little bit of gel stain and a chip brush. And the chip brush is going to be a beautiful way to just kind of go with the wood grain and even everything out. Okay, now that the stain is on and dried and I have all of my little areas that I've touched up, I'm going to go in, I'm going to do 2 coats with Osmo's hard wax oil. It's super easy to apply. You literally just rub it on and then you rub off the excess. It is a combustible liquid, so you want to make sure that when you dispose of it, you want to go ahead and lay your rags out flat and let them dry, or you put them in some type of a metal can that has water in it. Now we're going to repeat that entire process that we just did on the body on the legs. Here's the second coat of wax. I've done a very light sanding and then dusted it off, and I'm doing a second coat of the hard wax oil. Let's look back at the before. You can see the top was trashed, but there was hope underneath there. Some pretty beautiful wood. There was a lot of veneer damage on the corners and on the sides. Surprisingly, the drawers themselves were in really great shape. I had hardly any veneer damage, which gave me hope that all that beautiful wood could be refinished. So after a lot of stripping, a lot of veneer repair, sanding, here's the final product. I think it turned out really good. Can you believe that shine from that oil? It is beautiful. I love the nutmeg with the brown mahogany combination, that unique louvered look on there. That grain just pops, and the Veneer Repair, I know I'm new to it, but I'm getting there, and I think I did pretty good, but I'm continuing to practice and I'll get better, but it turned out really good and I love it. So tell me what you think.